Hi everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've already been here. My name is Ravni, and yesterday I uploaded a video about a little bit about my journey into the divine feminine, and that ignited in me to share a little bit more of what I know. This is not a lecture. I think this is about remembering, and I love that word because it adds depth. I think words are important and we don't want to be gaslighted more, right? So I'm just creating this space to be honest, to be held by all of you, right? And to be real about the ache we all carry. I was hurt deeply, and I might get emotional. Growing up, like I said, I did not feel safe in my body, in this world, or even in my own spirit. There were so many things I had to leave behind. Names, roles, beliefs, friends, entire worlds. Like, I live in the States now, but like my whole childhood I lived in India. That was a big part of me, right? But it no longer fits, right? I let it all go, but one thing stayed, and that is Gurbani, the words of the gurus. And like I mentioned, I'm a Sikh, so grew up as a Sikh. So I'm standing here today speaking to all of you now because of Gurbani. Yeah. Because when everything else shattered me, it was these verses that whispered, "You're not impure, you were not small, you're sacred, you're a warrior, you're beautiful. I see you." I'm alive today because of the truth I found in Gurbani and how it reconnected me with Ik Onkar, which basically is the one divine presence, which we call spirit, God, whatever you want to call, that flows through all of creation. It has no gender, no form, and it is a force of unity, love, truth, and fearlessness, right? There are so many traits of that divine force. And that is what saved me and brought me back to myself. It reminded me that in the end, we are all part of that same divine oneness, that force. And that's where healing happens, right? So I'm not here to convert you. I'm not here to preach. I don't know why it's sounding like that. That's not the case, okay? I'm just here to share what helped me heal and what helped me survive, and to offer that lens in case it helps you feel a little bit better and feel seen, right? So the Sikh wisdom and the divine feminine angle it holds taught me that sacred feminine is not hidden. It is divine. It is fierce. It is soft. It is the very breath of life. Take what resonates, just leave what doesn't. But know this: if you're hurting, if you're longing, if you're searching for something to hold on to, because we know it's a thing, right? You're welcome here. You're sacred, and you're never too far gone to come home to yourself. And with that, I will start with the line from, well, there are so many angles of divine feminine in Gurbani, but I'm going to share some of them here. So first is by Guru Nanak. He says on page 473, from woman, man is born. Within woman, man is conceived. To woman, he is engaged and married. Through woman, generations come. So why call her bad, from whom even kings are born? So these words were spoken by Guru Nanak, the first Sikh Guru, at a time when women were silenced, hidden, labeled impure. I'm going to elaborate on that more. Guru Nanak spoke truth that still shakes systems. He did not say women are equal, right? Which is what feminism is about. And I actually don't sync up with that very well. Like, what are we even comparing? They're just different energies. Anyways, that's a different topic. He said, she's sacred, she's divine. He saw what many still fail to see, which is that the world comes through her, the world moves through her, right? Wow. Okay, moving forward, there is an angle of ending shame around menstruation. That is a big one. I'll share my personal experiences. So he did not stop there. He was a revolutionary. I love him. He confronted one of the oldest taboos, menstruation. So I'll give some background. I did some research. So menstruating women are often considered impure and prohibited from entering temples, kitchens, or participating in religious ceremonies. I'm talking about India here, especially in Hinduism. These restrictions, while not uniformly practiced across all Indian communities, stem from age-old interpretations of religious texts and has been passed down generations. There is a social stigma around menstruation. I still remember I used to hide it from my brother, my father. Nobody talks about it. There's no discussion about menstruation openly. And people actually women feel embarrassed about this natural process, body process, right? I still remember black polythene bags that were given to me by the shopkeepers so I could take the menstrual pads back home, right? And like, why? Like, when I was a kid, I did not question that, but like now I'm like, I don't need a bag, all right? This is what are you talking about? This is part of me. So even naming it, like, I don't remember people even naming it. They call it chums, down. Like, we use those words. Like, what is the problem with using words like period, sex? Like, what is the damn problem? Okay, right? You see? Words are powerful. So there is lack of awareness. I remember a lot of people in my family didn't even know about periods until it happened. Like, so there's no communication, no education. I mean, schools do. I still remember we used to be taken to those like special classes to tell us about like menstruation. But like, as a child, you need it from the community, from your parents, from your friends, sisters. Nothing like that never ever happened. I was still shocked when it happened. It was like a big like trauma. I don't want to use the word trauma, but it was traumatic for me. The whole menstruation experience. At one point I was like, I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to be a girl. So like now I'm coming to terms with it, but like it was quite traumatic for me because there was no holding there, you know? I just felt so alone, like just thrown in this woman's body. I'm like, just take care of it. So yeah, but I want to go back to like what Gurbani says on page 472. He says, and this is in the 1400s, these words of Guru Nanak. He says, if cloth is stained with blood, it's considered unclean. But when blood is absorbed into the body, it gives life. Without blood, there is no human being at all. So he wasn't just talking about cloth, he was talking about menstruation, right? Because people used to use cloth before, right? Maybe still do. In cultures where bleeding meant like shutting out people, genders, half of the population, Guru Nanak said, blood is life. There's nothing impure about you. To me, as a child, that was so comforting, seriously, because that did not come from the immediate community or society. So, what this means today, like, your body is not wrong. This is all sacred and part of God's creation, right? So in Sikh spaces, there are no barriers. I'll share some practices that I personally enjoy, established by and emphasized by the Sikh gurus. One of them is Gurbani, like people sit together and sing it and reflect on it and talk about it. That's called Sat Sangat. Singing it is called Kirtan. Community Langar. Langar is basically community kitchen. People cook together and then eat together, sit on the floor without any bias of caste or gender or creed. All sit together on the floor, eat the same thing, cooked together, community kitchen. So yeah, menstruating or not, it does not matter. Everything is part of the divine plan, or you're part of it. So yeah. Next is beautiful. Like, all of the Gurbani is written from the female perspective. So we are all humans are being interpreted as soul brides, and the husband is called the divine. So the divine is the husband and we are all soul brides. And this metaphor is used in many places. And in one of them, he says, "How wari, jio wari, sun sajjan pyare, meri preet lagi har duje nahi," meaning that I am a sacrifice to you, O divine. My love is only for you alone, right? So it's very intimate, right? So this is like bhakti, which is like deep devotional love. When you only see your partner, you don't see anyone else, right? You're related. So this is a surrender, but not of weakness. How loving that is. It is a very different type of love, right? A quality, rather. It is just part of being the divine feminine, that quality that shows up in the soul. We are all yearning for the divine, right? In one way or the other, even if we realize it or not. Sorry, this video is going long, but stay with me, please, if you can. So next is the fierce form of the divine feminine. This is my favorite. I don't know, I personally relate with it, maybe because I had to stay in my warrior energy for so long. I relate to it so much. So Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Sikh master, honored the divine as Shakti. What is Shakti? Shakti is a fierce form of the divine feminine. So the communal prayer that the Sikhs do every single day, in the morning and the evening, starts with Pritham Bhagauti, Simar ke Guru Nanak leite aaye, which means that I first remember Bhagauti, which is the divine feminine force, and then I remember the first master, Guru Nanak. So here, the Bhagauti means much more than a goddess. It is a remembrance of that energy of divine feminine as like the sword of truth, the courage to protect, like that sacred courage that is not rooted in violence, not ego. It is very much rooted in compassion. So yeah, so the fierce form of the divine. I love that. Okay, I'll move forward. Next is I want to give some examples of the women in the Sikh history. Some of them, I'm not covering all, but like some of them. So she's not only in the Sikh scripture, but she is also very much big part of Sikh history. So like I mentioned, the community kitchen was actually started by Mata Khivi, who basically created the practice of langar, which is a community meal where everyone, like I mentioned, sits on the ground, cooks together. They're all equal. They're fed with dignity. You know, there is no distribution of class or gender here. So I thought that was pretty powerful. Next is Mai Bhago. She was a warrior. She was a wife of one of the 40 men that she led back into battle to stand with the Sikh master, the 10th Sikh master, Guru Gobind Singh. So they just left the Guru and they came back home, and she was like, what? So she actually championed it and led them back to the battle. So she fought, she survived, and she actually accompanied the Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, as his bodyguard for around roughly 3 years until he passed away in 1708. So there was no distinction really. It was about you showing up. If you're ready, you're ready. You know, the gender doesn't mean anything in Sikhi. And then Baby Nanki, which was like the sister of the first Guru, Guru Nanak. She was the first person to see the divine in him, to recognize the divine in him, the divine's light in him. So yeah, they were not supporting characters. Like women are like really portrayed, you know, in movies and all that. Otherwise you'll have to be like masculine to really be something. Like you can still have an impact, right? So I felt like they were leaders here, visionaries, teachers, and so much more, right? I'm just sharing like 3 of them, but there's so much more. So yeah, her many forms that I found when I was researching in Gurbani is that she is Karuna, which means compassion. She has this energy of selfless service, which is Seva. Prem, unconditional love. Shakti, raw, fierce power, can be channeled in so many ways, right? If needed. Bhakti, which is devotional surrender. You want to surrender. There is power in that, right? Biras, which is like spiritual courage that comes from the spirit, right? Not from the ego, not from outside. It's your presence. Gyan, which is like deep wisdom. I feel that wisdom also comes from the divine feminine, because you have to go inside yourself to know what works for you. That is, to me, going in is very feminine, right? Divine feminine quality. So you don't have to become her. You are already her. The divine feminine is not just a metaphor, you know. We need to see it to be able to live it, right? And that this is my initiative to hopefully make it a little bit relatable. And so she's your breath. She's the blood in our veins, you know. She's the inner voice inside us that knows. And you don't need to get a degree to know things, you know. It's that inner knowing. She is Mai Bhago with her sword. I have a big poster of her in my room. Maybe I'll share it sometime. She's Mata Khivi with her hands feeding so many. She is the fear. She's gentle. She is the seen in the creation. She's the unseen that the liminal spaces, right? So she is us, she is you. She walks with us when we are fully in our truth, I think. And I hope we set this as the beginning of healing, of remembering, again, where I started, of returning home to ourselves, because we are it, right? So I would love to hear from all of you in the comments if this resonates at all or not at all. What do you think? Something from your experiences, your cultures. I think that we can all find so many different ways to relate to her and just, grow and evolve, right? Become more of us, reclaim our power, right? So I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you again. Goodbye.